I had just retired when my daughter-in-law called. "I'm leaving the kids with you. You don't do anything all day anyway, so you can watch them while I'm on vacation." I smiled and hung up. I decided to give her a lesson she would never forget. When she returned from her trip, the children hid behind me. The silence that followed was so heavy it felt like the air itself could break. That moment, as the phone still vibrated in my hand, I made the most important decision of my 67 years of life. I was going to make sure she remembered this forever. But let me start from the beginning, because when Valeria came back, when those kids hid behind me and the whole house fell silent, that was only the end of a story that had begun long before. My name is Teresa Miller. 35 years of teaching at Jefferson Elementary in Dallas taught me how to handle difficult students, complicated parents, and situations that seemed impossible. But nothing prepared me for Valeria. That afternoon, I was sitting in my living room, enjoying my second day of retirement. Do you know what it feels like to start working at 22 and only at 67 finally have time for yourself? I had waited my whole life for that moment. On the table were travel brochures, Arizona, Florida, New York, places I had always dreamed of visiting but never could. My whole life had been work, raising my only son Robert after my husband died in a bus crash, sacrificing for years so my boy could have every opportunity. Then the phone rang. I saw Valeria's name on the screen and hesitated. She only called when she wanted something. "Teresa," she said flatly, without even saying hello. She never once called me mom, not even mother-in-law. "I have an amazing opportunity in Miami, a sales convention that will change our lives. Multi-level marketing again, those ridiculous scams that always cost her money. The kids can't miss 2 weeks of school," she went on, "so I'm leaving them with you." "I'm sorry?" I asked quietly. "Don't play deaf. I said I'm leaving Diego, Sophia, and Matthew with you. You don't do anything anyway, so you can take care of them while I'm gone. You're not working anymore. You've got all the time in the world." Not doing anything? My blood boiled. She, who had never worked an honest day in her life, living off my son like a parasite, had the nerve to say that to me. "Valeria, I already have plans." She laughed. What plans could a retired old woman possibly have? Knitting? Watching soap operas all day? "Oh, come on, Teresa. Don't be ridiculous. I'll drop them off at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And don't feed them junk like last time." Last time, I hadn't seen my grandkids in 6 months. Last Christmas, I got 2 hours with them because they had to go to the other grandparents' house, the important ones, the rich ones. "I won't watch them, Valeria." "What? You're their grandmother. That's your duty." Besides, Robert already agreed. Lies. My son didn't even know about this. He worked 14 hours a day at the factory to fund her luxury lifestyle. "If you ever want to see your grandkids again, you'd better cooperate," she threatened. "I decide whether they have a grandmother or not." Something inside me cracked or maybe woke up. Anyone who knew me knew that Teacher Teresa never stayed silent in the face of injustice, and she had just declared war. "All right, Valeria," I said as calmly as I could. "Bring them over." "Good. And don't spoil them. They're a little difficult because you never taught Robert any discipline, if he'd had a better mother." I hung up before she could finish. I stared at my retirement plaque on the wall. 35 years of dedication to generations of students, and now my daughter-in-law saw me as free labor. But if there's one thing I learned in all those years, it's this: the best lessons aren't taught with words. I picked up the phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. "Carmen, it's Teresa. I need help. Do you still have those hidden recorders you used during your divorce?" "Great. And your sister still works at Child Protective Services, right? Perfect. I hung up and poured myself a cup of chamomile tea. Tomorrow, real teaching would begin, but not for the children. Valeria was about to learn the most important lesson of her life. Never underestimate a retired teacher with free time and a thirst for justice. That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories from 35 years flooded back. How had I allowed my own family to treat me like an old piece of furniture only useful when they needed something? It had all started when Robert was 3 years old. My husband, Michael, left home on a rainy morning for a business trip. The bus skidded off the highway. 23 people died. Michael was the 24th, but he survived 3 more days in the hospital. "Take care of our son," he whispered before he passed. "Make him a good man." I had only $800 in my bank account, a 3-year-old boy, and a teaching degree. The first years were hell. I taught mornings in public school and tutored afternoons. Robert always ate before I did. If I could afford only 1 pair of shoes, they were his. If I could buy 1 toy, I skipped dinner. My mother used to say, "Teresa, you'll wear yourself out working like this. Find another man." But I'd look at that little boy with his father's brown eyes and know no man on earth could love him like I did. I kept going alone. The sacrifices were endless. One Christmas, when Robert was 8, I'd saved for half a year to buy him the bicycle he dreamed of. That night, I realized I had no money left for dinner, so I sold the only ring I had left, a family heirloom, for $300 to cook a proper meal. Robert, never. I knew. In his eyes, I was an invincible mother. When he entered high school, expenses grew: books, uniforms, bus fare, supplies. I kept teaching 2 shifts and baked pastries every weekend at the farmer's market. My hands grew rough and swollen, but it was all worth it when Robert got accepted into Texas Tech University to study engineering. I was so proud. The son of a widowed teacher was going to be an engineer. In his junior year, he brought Valeria home. "Mom, I want you to meet someone special." She walked in wearing a soft pink dress, dark wavy hair, and a perfect smile. She hugged me so warmly I melted. "I admire you so much," she said. "Raising a son alone and turning him into such a good man, you're my inspiration." And I believed her. After 20 years without a genuine hug, I believed her. The first years were good. Valeria came over to help cook, telling stories about her humble family in Ohio. My dad's a construction worker. My mom sells food. At the market, "I know how hard life can be. You and I are the same. We know how to work." All lies, but I was too happy seeing my son in love to notice. When they married, I even paid half the wedding cost from my retirement savings. An investment in my son's happiness, I told myself. Then she began to change. It started with subtle remarks. "Too bad Robert never had a male role model. He lacks ambition." Or, "If you'd saved more, Robert could have gone to a private school." Then, "Your pies are so simple, I make mine far fancier." Each comment was a tiny knife, but I stayed silent for Robert's sake. When my first grandson, Diego, was born, I thought things would get better. I brought a blanket I'd spent 9 months knitting. Valeria barely glanced at it. "Thanks, but we already have everything from Macy's. You can donate that." While I still wore clothes from the discount store, she spent Robert's money on designer brands. Then came Sophia and Matthew. With each birth, I was pushed further away. She always had an excuse: the kids needed structure. I was too old-fashioned. My house wasn't safe. "You don't understand," she'd say. Kids today need English lessons, swimming classes, tech skills, not peanut butter sandwiches like Robert had. Robert was too exhausted to see what was happening. The hardest blow came on Sophia's 5th birthday. I had saved for 3 months to buy her the dollhouse she wanted. I showed up in my best outfit, holding the gift carefully wrapped. The backyard party was lavish clowns, a fake princess, decorations everywhere. But I wasn't on the guest list. "Sorry, Teresa," Valeria said at the door. "This is a party for her classmates and their parents. You understand, right? We're from different circles." I saw Robert playing with the kids, avoiding my gaze. I walked home hugging the gift, crying the whole way. That night, I donated the dollhouse to an orphanage at least there, it would be loved. And now, after years of humiliation, Valeria wanted me to be her free babysitter, as if every wound could be erased when she needed me again. But what she didn't know was that teacher Teresa had learned more than math and reading. I understood children's psychology. I could recognize toxic families. And most of all, I knew how to wait for the right moment. I glanced at the clock, 3 a.m. In just a few hours, Valeria would show up with 3 kids who barely remembered who I was. They'd been taught I was the poor grandma, the boring one, the one who didn't matter. I smiled in the dark. If there was one thing I excelled at, it was transforming children. And they were about to find out who Grandma Teresa really was. At 7 a.m., the doorbell rang, punctual, as always. When she needed something, I opened the door. The 3 children stood there, faces blank, dragging suitcases nearly their size. "I don't have time to chat," Valeria said, briskly. "Diego's allergic to dust, Sophia doesn't eat greens, and Matthew needs his iPad to fall asleep. Their medicine's in the blue suitcase. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And no, Robert isn't coming. He's working as usual. Someone has to make money for this family. Not everyone's lucky enough to retire with a pension." My pension was $4,800 a month after 35 years of service. Valeria spent more than that just on her nails and eyelash extensions. The children stepped into the house reluctantly. Diego, 12, glued to his phone. Sophia, 10, scowling. Matthew, 7, searching for the TV. "Be good for Grandma," Valeria muttered, then leaned close to whisper. "And don't let her fill your heads with nonsense. Remember, I decide whether you see her again." She walked off without kissing her kids goodbye, her high heels and the sound of that brand new SUV fading into the distance. I stood there facing 3 little faces that looked at me like I was the enemy. My mind filled with memories of how Valeria had built walls between me and them, brick by brick, like the time 3 years ago when I tried to give Robert $300 to help with his car payment. Valeria stopped me. "Oh, Teresa, let's use that for the kids' tuition instead. Education is the top priority, don't you agree?" I never saw a tuition bill. A month later, she showed up with a new Louis Vuitton purse. "A gift from a friend," she said. A friend, of course. Or when my sister Rosa passed away and left me $3,000. I told Robert excitedly, planning to fix my leaking roof. Valeria found out and said, "Mom, my company just went under. We're struggling. Can I borrow that money?" "I'll pay you back with interest." 2 years later, the roof still leaked, but she had managed a Miami getaway with her friends. "Grandma, where's the Wi-Fi?" Diego interrupted my thoughts. "I need Wi-Fi. Now." "The router's broken." I lied. I'd unplugged it. "What? No way, Mom! Mom!" He screamed like he was being tortured. "Your mom's gone, Diego. Yelling won't bring the internet back. You're the worst grandma ever. Nobody likes you." His tone dripped with Valeria's poison. I wasn't hurt. I was ready. I'm hungry, Sophia said, but I'm not eating your food. Mom says your cooking's terrible, that's why Dad's so skinny. I want to watch YouTube, Matthew added. We watch it all day at home. I looked at them, perfect products of neglect disguised as modern parenting. They had no sense of limits or respect, only entitlement. I remembered the time Valeria crossed the line for good. Last Christmas, I had prepared a feast: honey-roasted chicken, cod and tomato sauce, and warm apple cider. I spent 2 days cooking. When I arrived, everything was still steaming. The kids ran over, drawn by the smell. "Don't touch that," Valeria shouted. "We don't know where she made it. Better order pizza." Pizza. On Christmas Eve. I watched her dump my food into the trash without even tasting it. The kids looked at me with pity, as if I were a beggar bringing scraps. "Your food's too greasy," Valeria said, "and your kitchen's probably full of roaches." Lies. My kitchen was cleaner than an operating room. Robert stood there and said only one thing: "Valeria knows what's best for us." That night I realized my son was lost, but maybe, just maybe, my grandchildren could still be saved. "Grandma, do something. I'm bored," Diego said, tossing a pillow on the floor. "Your mom asked me to watch you, not entertain you," I said calmly. "There's food in the kitchen, water from the tap, and beds in the rooms. If you want anything else, you'll have to earn it." "Earn it?" Sophia scoffed. "We're kids. We don't have to do anything at your house. Everyone contributes," I said. "Your dad was raised that way before your mom spoiled him. And for the next 2 weeks, that's how it's going to be." "I'm going to tell Mom you're mean," Matthew threatened. "Go ahead," I said calmly. "And tell her I loved the photos she posted from Miami last month. The trip, she said, was for training." All 3 of them went silent. They didn't fully understand, but they could sense that their grandmother wasn't someone to be pushed around anymore. That night was terrible. Diego slammed his bedroom door. Sophia cried nonstop, demanding her special food, and Matthew deliberately wet the bed. They wanted to break me, just like their mother once tried to. But then something happened that changed everything. Around 2 a.m., I heard crying from Sophia's room. It wasn't tantrum crying, it was real sadness. I quietly stepped in and saw her clutching a wrinkled photo. "What's that, sweetheart?" She jumped, hiding it under her pillow. "Nothing. Go away." But I had already seen it. It was a photo of me holding her as a baby, one of the few times I'd been allowed to see her before Valeria cut me out. "Do you miss your mom?" I asked. "No," she said quickly, too quickly. "She's always gone. I'm used to it." That was the first crack in her shell. Valeria hadn't only abandoned me, she'd abandoned her own children, replacing love with money and gifts. "Does your mom travel a lot for work?" I asked. "Yeah, about once a month, sometimes more. She says it's for business. But I'm not supposed to say that. Mom says family matters stay private." The eternal commandment of manipulators: silence. I stood up and said softly, "Tomorrow morning, would you like to learn how to bake walnut cookies?" Her eyes lit up for a second, then dimmed again. "Mom says your kitchen's dirty." "Your mom says a lot of things." I smiled. "You can see for yourself tomorrow." I closed the door, leaving Sophia to think. The first seed had been planted. I didn't know yet that Diego's phone, the one he couldn't use without Wi-Fi, held Valeria's biggest secret, the one that would explain why she really went to Miami. The next morning, my plan began. Before the kids woke up, Carmen, my old friend, arrived with a shoebox. "Here, everything you asked for," she whispered. 3 button-sized recording devices, 1 smoke detector camera, and a manila envelope. Here's her credit report. Your daughter-in-law owes over $18,000, all under Robert's name. My sister from Child Protective Services will stop by tomorrow pretending to do a routine visit. But Teresa, if you want to take legal action, you'll need solid proof. Proof, I repeated. Exactly what I was going to find. When the kids woke up, breakfast was ready: animal-shaped pancakes, fruit cut into stars, and chocolate milk. Not the disgusting food Valeria had described. Diego came down first, still in pajamas. He froze, suspicious. "What's this?" "Breakfast. Eat it before it gets cold." He sat down, took a bite, smirked slightly, then pretended not to care. "It's okay. I've had better." Sophia and Matthew came running, drawn by the smell. Matthew took a bite and squealed. "This is amazing, Grandma!" "Shut up, dummy," Sophia hissed. Don't what, Sophia?" "Nothing. After breakfast I laid down the rules. If you want Wi-Fi, TV, or anything fun, you'll have to earn it. Diego, wash the dishes. Sophia, make the beds. Matthew, pick up your toys." "This is child labor," Diego shouted. "No, dear," I replied. "Child labor is what I see on your mom's phone." I held up a screenshot of Valeria's Facebook page. "Look here, your mom in Miami, at the beach, with a man who isn't your father." The 3 of them gathered around. In the photo, Valeria wore a bikini, hugging a strange man. The caption reading, "Number new life, number freedom." "That's Uncle Carl," Matthew said innocently. "Mom's friend. He comes over when Dad's busy." Diego clamped a hand over his brother's mouth, but it was too late. Another piece fell into place. "Uncle Carl, huh?" I asked softly. "Does he come over often?" "We're not supposed to talk about that," Diego panicked. "Mom said if we tell anyone about Carl, Dad will die of sadness." My God, the level of manipulation was terrifying. "Kids," I said, "grown-ups don't die from sadness, but I need to know the truth to protect you." "Why?" Sophia crossed her arms. "Why do you care?" "Because I love you, and when you love someone, you protect them." It was Matthew, the youngest, who asked the question that broke my heart. "Grandma, how come Mom says you're mean but you make good cookies?" "I don't know, sweetheart. What else does your mom say about me? That you're poor, embarrassing, that we shouldn't come here, that your house smells bad and you ruined Dad's life." Each word was a knife, but I stayed calm as I carefully placed the first recorder under the table. "And what do you kids think?" I asked. "Your house smells like cinnamon and coffee," Sophia whispered. "It smells like home." That afternoon, while they did chores and grumbled, I quietly unlocked Diego's phone. Kids these days save everything in the cloud. With a bit of patience, I accessed his Google account. What I found made my blood run cold. Messages between Valeria and Carl. It wasn't just an affair. They were planning something much worse. "Everything's almost ready," Valeria wrote. "Robert signed the papers without reading, as usual. The house is already in my name. What about the kids?" "We'll leave them with the old lady after you file for divorce," Carl replied. "Robert's too busy to notice. He'll never get custody. But we need more. Money to move to Miami permanently. The old lady's house is worth at least $120,000. When she dies, Robert inherits it, and you get half or maybe all." I kept reading. Valeria had opened 3 credit cards in Robert's name, sold his car, and claimed it was stolen. She had even tried to mortgage my house but couldn't without my signature. Her so-called business trips were actually romantic getaways with Carl in other cities, all paid for with Robert's hard-earned money. I took screenshots of everything, messages, photos, evidence. Carmen was right. I needed to document it all. That evening at dinner, I decided to test the waters. "So, what do you want to do tomorrow?" "Go home," Diego said instantly. "Home? You mean your dad's house or Carl's?" Sophia's fork slipped from her hand. I don't know what you mean." "Sweetheart, I know it's hard, but I need honesty. Does Carl live with you?" "Sometimes when Dad's away for work, he stays overnight." "On the couch," Matthew giggled. "No, Grandma. He sleeps in Mom and Dad's room and we're not allowed in. They make weird noises all night," Diego snapped. "Shut up, Matthew. Mom said not to talk about that." "And what else did Mom say not to talk about?" I pressed gently. Sophia burst into tears. "That Dad's boring, that Carl's more fun, that we'll have a new house with a pool soon, that we won't be poor like Dad or old like you living in this ugly house." I pulled her close the first time in years she let me, and she cried in my arms. She cried like a real 10-year-old girl again, no longer the little machine her mother had trained her to be. "Grandma," Diego whispered, his voice no longer harsh. "Does Dad know?" "No, sweetheart, your dad doesn't know a thing. Are you going to tell him?" "No, Grandma. You'll do something better. You'll make sure we're safe. Dad's safe. And Mom, well, she'll finally get what she deserves." That night, after putting the kids to bed and for the first time, none of them protested, I called Robert. "Hi, Mom. How are the kids?" "Valeria said you offered to babysit." "Offered?" I almost laughed. "They're fine, honey. Can you come by after work? I need to talk about something important with you about the house." Valeria told me not to bother her during her business trip. "It's about the roof. There's a leak that could affect the structure." Not exactly a lie, the house did have leaks, just not the kind he thought. "All right, Mom. I'll stop by around 7. I hung up and glanced at the calendar. 12 days until Valeria's return. 12 days to undo 10 years of lies, manipulation, and emotional abuse. But now, I had something I'd never had before. 3 children who were beginning to see the truth. And truth always finds its way out. The next morning, the psychologist would arrive. Robert would see all the evidence, and Valeria's paper castle would begin to crumble. The battle was just beginning, but this time, I had every weapon I needed to win. Day 3 started with a literal explosion. Matthew had found the fireworks I'd saved for New Year's and decided to light them inside the house. "Grandma, fire!" Sophia screamed around 5 a.m. I ran out with the fire extinguisher. Thankfully, I always kept one in the kitchen. The dining room curtains were singed, smoke everywhere. Matthew stood laughing. "Just like on YouTube, Grandma." "You think that's funny?" I said coldly. "You almost burned down the house." "Who cares?" Mom said, "when you die, she'll sell this place and buy a bigger one." Valeria's poison flowed again from a 7-year-old's mouth. But this time, it didn't hurt me. It fueled me. "You're right, Matthew. This house is old. Do you know why? Because in this house I raised your father alone after your grandpa died. Here, I sewed clothes until 3 a.m. to pay for his school. In this ugly kitchen, I cooked thousands of meals so your dad never went to school hungry." Matthew stopped laughing. "And if your mom thinks she'll ever own this house, she's wrong. Yesterday, I changed my will. Everything goes to an orphan fund for children who know how to appreciate a home. "You can't do that," Diego yelled, running down the stairs. "This is our inheritance." "Inheritance?" I looked at him. "You've never visited, you've disrespected me, and now you talk about inheritance?" Mom said, "It's our right." I grabbed my phone and played the recording from last night's dinner. Their own voices echoed through the living room. "Dad's boring. Carl's more fun. We're going to be rich." The three of them froze. "You recorded us?" Sophia stammered. "I recorded everything. Sweetheart, every word, every confession. When your mother comes back and tries to twist the story, I'll have proof." Diego suddenly screamed. "You're just a bitter old woman. No one likes you. Dad never visits. Mom hates you for a reason. You're mean and jealous. You can't stand anyone being happy." He started breaking things. The vase my mother gave me, family photos, my retirement plaque all shattered amid curses no 12-year-old should know. "I hate you. I wish you'd die." Sophia ran to the kitchen, smashing dishes. "If you don't turn on the Wi-Fi, we'll destroy everything." Matthew tore up my photo albums, wedding pictures, Robert as a baby, my parents' portraits. My past rained down like shredded paper. I stood in the middle of the storm, calm and silent. The hidden ceiling camera Carmen had installed recorded everything. 20 minutes later, the three of them were panting amid the wreckage. "Finished?" I asked softly. They looked at each other, confused. "Now you're going to clean every bit of this mess. Every shard, every torn photo. And while you do, remember this. Your mother left because she doesn't love you. If she did, she wouldn't be in Miami with Carl. If she did, she wouldn't use you to hurt your father. If she did, she wouldn't teach you to hate the one person who truly cares about you." "You don't care about us," Diego shouted. "No? Who stopped your dad from selling the house when he lost his job 3 years ago? Who paid your school fees when your mom spent the money on vacations? Who's been saving for your college since the day you were born?" I pulled out 3 savings books. Diego, $2,700. Sophia, $2,000. Matthew, $1,300. Every month I set aside part of my pension for you, because even if I couldn't see you, I wanted to make sure you had a future. But not anymore. Tomorrow I'll close these accounts. That money will go to children who appreciate others' efforts. Diego held his book, trembling. $2,700 for me? Yes, every penny for you. Sophia started crying. "Grandma, we didn't know or didn't want to know. It's easier to believe lies than to think for yourself, isn't it?" Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Laura, Carmen's sister, the Child Protective Services worker. "Good morning, Mrs. Miller. We received a call about possible child neglect." The kids went pale. "Come in, Laura. As you can see, the children just had a meltdown." Laura looked around at the wrecked room and began taking photos. "What happened here?" "Mom says breaking things helps us express our feelings," Matthew said softly. "Your mom told you to destroy someone else's home?" "Mom says old people's opinions don't matter," Sophia added. Laura wrote that down. "Where is your mother now?" "On a business trip in Miami," Diego said mechanically. I handed her my phone. "Here's the business trip." The screen showed Valeria and Carl on a yacht, champagne glasses raised. "Hard at work, right?" Laura scrolled through the photos, read the printed messages and credit statements. Her face hardened. "I'll need to speak with each child privately." While Laura interviewed them, I picked up the torn photo pieces. Each fragment was a memory, but it didn't hurt anymore, because I knew I hadn't lost my past. I was reclaiming my family's future. Nearly an hour later, Laura returned. "Mrs. Miller, these children are under severe emotional distress. There are clear signs of psychological manipulation. The oldest shows symptoms of depression, the girl suffers from anxiety, and the youngest mimics adult behavior. Keep recording everything. When their father arrives, I'll need to speak with him. And when the mother returns, I'll have to open a formal investigation. After Laura left, I saw the kids sitting curled up on the stairs. They no longer looked like the destructive little troublemakers from that morning. They just looked scared and abandoned. "Are they going to take us away from Dad?" Matthew whispered. I sat beside him. "No, sweetheart, no one's taking you away from your father, but things will change and it's going to hurt. Change is always hard, but it's necessary." "Grandma," Diego muttered, avoiding my eyes, "if Dad finds out about Carl, it'll kill him." "No, honey, your father is stronger than that, and he deserves the truth. We all do." That afternoon, as the kids cleaned up the mess without a single complaint, I overheard Sophia whisper to her brother, "What if Grandma's right? What if Mom really doesn't love us?" "Shut up," Diego said, but his voice trembled. "She has to love us. She's our mom." But even he was beginning to doubt. That evening, after a quiet dinner, Matthew came to me holding something in his small hands, a torn photograph he had tried to tape back together. It was Robert's graduation picture. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I tried to fix it." I hugged him tightly. For the first time since they arrived, he let me. "We can fix many things, Matthew. But first, we have to accept that they're broken." In just a few hours, when Robert arrived, the real rebuilding would begin brick by brick, truth by truth, until Valeria's castle of lies completely collapsed. Robert showed up a little after 7 p.m., still in his oil-stained work uniform, his eyes sunken with exhaustion. Seeing my son like that reminded me of the 8-year-old boy who once cried because kids laughed at his patched shoes. "Hi, Mom. Where are the kids?" "Doing homework in the dining room. Sit down. I need to talk to you." "About the roof? Let me take a look." "No, son. Not about the roof. About your home." He froze. "What do you mean?" I placed the folder in front of him, printed messages between Valeria and Carl, credit card statements under his name, and photos of Valeria on a yacht in Miami. His hands shook as he flipped through each page, his face growing pale. "No, this has to be some mistake. Valeria's at a sales conference." "Robert, your wife is in Miami with her lover. The kids know it too. They've known for months." His voice cracked. "Carl, the man who watches them when I'm away. The man sleeping in my bed. The kids kept quiet because their mother told them I'd die if I found out." I saw the exact moment my son broke. He didn't cry, didn't yell, he just collapsed into himself like a string cut loose. "I'm such an idiot," he whispered. "No, Robert, you just trusted the wrong person. Now you have to be strong for your children." "Dad." Diego stood by the door. He had heard everything. Robert looked up, truly seeing his son for the first time in years, not the disrespectful boy Valeria had shaped, but a confused teenager desperate for his father. "Dad, we already know everything." Sophia and Matthew came out too. The three of them stood hesitantly in the doorway. "Come here," Robert said, opening his arms. And I watched as they ran into him, holding tight. All 4 of them cried together in the living room while I made coffee in the kitchen. Sometimes, tears are the first step toward healing. That night, after Robert tucked the kids into bed, I sat down to plan the next phase. Valeria had underestimated a retired teacher, and now she was about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. The following days were intense. Robert took his first leave of absence in 3 years and moved in with me and the kids. We started what I called Project Respect. The first rule was discipline: wake up at 7 a.m., breakfast at 8, study in the morning, lunch, earned free time, dinner, and bedtime at 9 p.m. "But at Mom's house we can sleep whenever we want," Sophia complained. "That's why you are the way you are," I replied. "The brain needs structure to feel safe." Next came responsibility. Each child had chores. Diego helped in the garden, Sophia assisted with cooking, and Matthew picked up his toys. "This is child labor," Diego grumbled while trimming plants. "No," Robert said, "this is family. In a family, everyone contributes." Finally, we added real consequences. No chores, no Wi-Fi. Yelling meant time out. Breaking something meant fixing it or losing allowance. Most importantly, the whole family attended therapy sessions once a week with the psychologist Carmen had recommended. Dr. Patricia came to our house 3 times a week. After the 3rd session, she said, "These children were turned into tools in a toxic game." Their mother made them believe she was the only one in control, yet ironically, she was the one emotionally absent. This is a textbook case of parental alienation combined with emotional neglect. "It can be reversed," she added, "but it will take time, patience, and a lot of love." And indeed, things started to change. On the 5th day, Sophia came to me and asked softly, "Grandma, can you teach me how to make walnut cookies?" As we kneaded the dough, she asked, "Grandma, why does Mom hate you so much?" I smiled. "Your mom doesn't hate me, sweetheart. She's afraid of me." "Afraid? Why?" "Because I am everything she couldn't become. I worked my whole life, built everything with my own hands, and raised a kind son. Your mother wanted everything to come easy, fast, without effort. When she looks at me, she's reminded that she chose the wrong path. Is Mom a bad person?" I thought for a moment. "Your mom is lost. She made many wrong choices and is now trapped in her own lies. But that doesn't excuse the pain she caused you." On the 7th day, Diego came to me while I was mending Matthew's school uniform. "Grandma, can I ask you something? Why didn't you ever defend yourself? Mom talked bad about you for years, but you never said anything." I smiled sadly. I used to think keeping the peace was more important than proving myself right, but that was a mistake. Silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's complicity. "Do you regret it?" "I only regret not acting sooner, but never regret acting now." On the 8th day, something beautiful happened. Matthew, the youngest and most wounded, brought me a drawing. It was our family, Robert, the 3 kids, and me in the center. I asked gently, "Where's your mom?" "She's far away," he said. "She's always far away, but you're always here." That night, Robert and I finally had the conversation we should have had years ago. "Mom, I'm sorry. I've let you down." "No, son. I let you down. I should have taught you how to see the signs. I should have protected you better." "Why didn't you see it earlier?" "Because love blinds us, and manipulators are experts at making others doubt their own instincts." "What do I do when she comes back?" "We're preparing for that, son. I already have a plan." And I truly did. Thanks to Carmen, I contacted a lawyer who specialized in divorces involving parental manipulation. Laura from Child Protective Services helped me compile all the necessary reports. And Dr. Patricia had completed full psychological evaluations for each child. On the 9th day, the kids did something that left me speechless. They organized a dinner for Robert and me. All 3 cooked, set the table, and even picked flowers from the garden for decoration. "This is to say thank you," Diego said. no longer the angry boy he once was. Thanks for not giving up on us. During dinner, Robert checked his phone. Valeria texted, "She'll be back in 5 days and wants the kids to be ready." "Ready for what?" Sophia asked. Robert looked at me, then at the kids. "When your mom comes back, things will be different. I'm filing for divorce." I braced for tears or protests, but instead, Matthew just asked, "We'll still get to stay with Grandma, right?" "You'll live with me," Robert said, "and if you want, you can see Grandma every day." "What about Mom?" Diego asked, trying to hide his sadness. "Your mom will have to make her own choices. But no matter what, you'll be safe. I promise." That night, as I tucked Matthew into bed, he whispered, "Grandma, I don't even miss my iPad anymore. A small miracle." But big changes always begin with small ones. 5 days left until Valeria's return, 5 days to prepare. Because when she walked through that door, she wouldn't find weak children or a submissive mother-in-law. She'd find a united, strong family ready to fight. And I, the woman she once dismissed, was about to teach her the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate the power of true love. The 10th day began with a shocking truth. Around 6 a.m., Sophia came into my room with red, puffy eyes. "Grandma, I have to tell you something. I haven't told Dad yet." I sat up and pulled her close. "What is it, sweetheart?" "Mom has another phone Dad doesn't know. I saw it fall out of her makeup bag once and she panicked." "What did you see?" "Photos. Lots of photos of her with Carl, but also papers, bank documents from Miami, and files about a house she bought there." My heart clenched. "A house in Miami?" "Yes, and there were emails from a lawyer about custody. Mom wants to take us to live in Miami with Carl. One email mentioned something about there being no extradition agreement." Oh God. Valeria wasn't just planning to leave her husband. She was planning to kidnap the kids. Was there anything else? Sophia hesitated, then pulled a USB drive from her pajama pocket. "I copied everything. I don't know why. I just felt like someday someone would need to know." I hugged her tightly. A 10-year-old had carried that secret inside her. I plugged the USB into my laptop. What we found left me breathless. There wasn't just proof of the Miami house listed under Carl's name, but paid for with money from Robert's joint account. There was a full written plan. Phase 1. Convince R to let me travel for training in Miami. Phase 2. While I'm gone, Carl will collect all valuable assets. Phase 3. When I return, I'll create conflict with the old lady and make everyone believe she's abusing the kids. Phase 4. Use that as an excuse to take them away for their safety. Phase 5. Move to Miami and never come back. But the worst part was the audio file. Valeria's voice said, "I don't care if the kids cry for their dad. In 2 months they'll forget him. Robert's too weak to fight back. And if he does, I have fake videos. It'll look like he's hitting Diego. Technology is amazing these days." Sophia burst into tears. "Mom was going to lie and say Dad hit us." "Yes, sweetheart. Your mom is willing to do anything to get what she wants. But I've recorded everything to protect you and your father." Diego walked in. "What are you two talking about?" Sophia told him everything. I saw fury flare in his eyes. "I'll kill her." "No, Diego. Don't do anything foolish. That's exactly what your mother wants, so she can use it against you. We'll win this with truth and the law." I called the lawyer immediately. After hearing everything, he said, "Go to your husband now." While waiting for Robert to come home from work, Matthew walked into the living room. "Why is everyone so sad?" No one's sad, sweetheart, I said. We're preparing. Preparing for what? To protect our family. He thought for a moment, then said something that broke my heart. Grandma, I know Mom doesn't love me. I heard her tell Carl I was a mistake, that if it weren't for me, she'd be free. A 7-year-old hearing his mother call him a mistake. I took his hand. No, my love, you're a gift. If your mother can't see that, it's her failure, not yours. Then why did she have me? Diego answered for him. To keep Dad from leaving. She got pregnant right when he was going to file for divorce the first time. What? Sophia gasped. 3 years ago, Dad found out Mom spent all of Grandpa's insurance money on a trip with her friends. He was ready to divorce her, but she said she was pregnant with Matthew, so he stayed. I started to understand. Michael's insurance money, I never knew the exact amount, but Robert once said it would go toward his children's education. Now I knew where it went. Robert came in, pale-faced. Mom, I just came back from the bank. Valeria emptied our savings account yesterday. 10 years of saving about $22,000. Sit down, son. There's more you need to see. I handed to him all the evidence. With each page, he seemed to age years. How could I have been so blind? It's not your fault, Dad, Diego said. Mom's just that good at lying. She fooled all of us. But I'm the father. I should have protected you. You are protecting us now, Sophia said. That's what matters. The lawyer arrived at noon. Mr. Smith, around 60, with a serious face but kind eyes. With all this evidence, he said, we can not only stop her from taking the children, but also file for a restraining order. Attempted child abduction and financial fraud are both criminal offenses. I don't want her in prison, Robert said quietly. I just want my kids safe. But Dad, Diego interrupted, she planned to frame you for hitting us. She wants to destroy you. Even so, Robert said softly, I don't want the kids to see their mother in jail. The lawyer nodded. We can negotiate. She'll give up custody, return the money, and won't be prosecuted, but we have to act fast. She'll be back in 4 days, I said. That's enough time. When Mr. Smith left, the whole family gathered in my small living room, the same room that had witnessed so many ups and downs. Kids, Robert said, no matter what happens to your mom, I'll always be here. And so will I added. Will Mom go to jail? Matthew asked. We don't know yet, sweetheart. But she must take responsibility for what she's done. Will we ever see her again? Sophia asked with a trembling voice. That depends on the court and on your mother, Robert replied. That night, we had chicken soup for dinner, the one Sophia helped me cook. Diego looked up and said, Grandma, thank you for not giving up, for fighting for us when we couldn't fight for ourselves. I smiled. I'll always fight for you, always, Sophia added. These are the happiest days of my life. For the first time, I feel like I have a real family. Me too, Matthew said with his mouth full. And Grandma's food is the best in the world. We all laughed, the first genuine laughter in years. While the kids watched a movie in the living room, Robert and I sat in the kitchen. Mom, I'm scared. What if Valeria loses control or tries to take the kids? We already have a plan. When she comes back, the kids will stay at Carmen's house. The police have been notified, and the lawyer will be present. She won't be alone with them for even a minute. But what if the kids miss her and hate me for keeping them apart? They'll miss the mother they never truly had, not the real one. With time and love, they'll heal. I looked toward the living room, where the 3 kids were curled up on the sofa watching the movie. In 10 days, they had completely changed. They were no longer defiant or angry, just children again. 3 days left until Valeria's return. 3 days to complete every legal measure of protection. Valeria had no idea that while she was enjoying her life in Miami, a small army was forming here. An army of love, truth, and justice. We were ready for the battle ahead. The last 3 days before Valeria's return were the most tense yet beautiful days of my life. It was as if the universe had gifted us this calm before the storm, a time to rebuild the foundation our family should have had all along. On the morning of the 11th day, it rained. As I prepared breakfast, I saw Diego sitting in the living room, flipping through the old photo album I had rescued on the first day. "Is this Dad, Grandma?" He pointed to a photo of Robert at his age. That's right. He had just won the state math contest. Look at that proud smile. He looks like me. No, sweetheart, you look like him, in both looks and spirit. He had Robert's intelligence and kind heart just buried under pain for too long. Diego turned the page and pointed to a photo of me at 35, with my first group of students. "You look so happy there." "I truly was," I said. "Teaching was my passion, just like teaching you kids to cook and love is now." "Then why did you let Mom keep us away from you?" I sat down beside him, my heart heavy. "Because I was a coward. I thought if I stayed quiet long enough, your mother would change. But toxic people don't change, sweetheart. They only grow stronger through others' silence." "Grandma, do you think I'll be like Mom? Sometimes I get so angry it scares me." "Feeling angry doesn't make you bad, Diego. What matters is what you do with it. Your mom used her anger to hurt others. You can use yours to protect, to fix what's broken." That morning, we made my mother's traditional sauce, 32 ingredients, 4 hours of preparation, a ritual I had waited years to share with them. "Why is it so complicated, Grandma?" Sophia asked while grinding dried peppers. "Because the best things in life take time, patience, and love. There's no shortcut to true value." Matthew was toasting the spices, his little face full of concentration. "It smells like Christmas," he said. "No, sweetheart, that's the smell of tradition, of history. Your great-grandmother used to make this, and now it lives on through us. We're part of history." Matthew looked at me in awe. "That's right, my love. Each of us carries the stories of generations before. While we cooked, Robert sat at the dining table with the lawyer, signing documents and finalizing the legal strategy. Sometimes he looked up and gave a small, tired smile. "Dad looks different," Sophia said. "Your dad is waking up from a long sleep," I explained. "Waking up hurts, but it's necessary." That afternoon, Dr. Patricia came for a special family therapy session. "I want each of you to write a letter to Valeria," she said. "Not to send, but to release your emotions." Diego filled 3 pages with anger. Sophia wrote one full of questions. Matthew drew his mother as a monster with 2 hands shaped like suitcases. Robert wrote just 1 line. "I forgive you, but I won't let you hurt us again." I wrote, "I failed by not stopping you sooner, but I will not fail as a grandmother." "Now burn them, doctor." Patricia said, "Let the pain be released." Under the light rain in the backyard, we burned the letters in a clay pot. As the papers turned to ash, Matthew looked up. "Are we free now?" "Now," the doctor replied gently. "You're just beginning to be free." On the 12th day, we prepared for the confrontation. Carmen arrived with her sister Laura, who worked at Child Protective Services. "When Valeria comes back, the kids will stay at my house," Carmen said. "They shouldn't witness what's about to happen, but I want to see her face when she learns the truth," Diego protested. "No, sweetheart, I interrupted. Revenge isn't our goal, protection is. Laura reviewed the documents carefully. With this evidence, we can get Robert temporary custody. Valeria won't be allowed near the kids without supervision. And what if she shows up with Carl? Robert asked. There'll be a patrol nearby, Laura said. If there's any sign of aggression, they'll intervene immediately. That evening, I saw Robert standing in the yard, looking up at the sky. What are you thinking, son? About Dad. Do you think he'd be disappointed in me? No, sweetheart. Your father would be proud that you're finally doing what's right. It might be late, but you did it, and that's what matters. Mom, how did you raise me alone without breaking? I didn't find strength, son. I built it every day, one choice at a time, just like you're doing now. On the 13th day, the last before Valeria's return, we devoted the entire day to family. We went to the park where I used to take Robert when he was little. The kids ran around, covered in mud. For the first time in years, I saw them truly being children. "Grandma, look at me!" Matthew shouted from the top of a tree. "I can see the whole city. Be careful." I called, but Robert stopped me. "Let him, Mom. He needs to feel brave." Sophia and I sat on a bench, eating roasted corn. "Grandma, when Mom comes back, will it all be over?" "No, sweetheart. This is only the beginning. What ends are the fear, manipulation, and lies. But if Mom cries, Dad will forgive her again. Not this time. This time, your father has something stronger than her lies." "What's that?" "The truth." Diego ran up, holding cotton candy for everyone. "I used my allowance, but it was worth it." "Good job, my boy," I said. "Giving is always worth more than receiving." At sunset, we returned home, exhausted but happy. As I prepared dinner, I overheard the kids talking in the living room. "Remember when Mom used to take us here?" Matthew asked. "She never took us to the park," Diego said. "She only liked malls." "But Grandma's different," Sophia said. "In just 13 days, she's given us more than Mom ever did in years." My heart tightened, part joy, part sorrow. During dinner, Robert said, "Tomorrow will be hard, but remember, no matter what happens, we are family, and real family protects each other." "Isn't Mom family?" Matthew asked innocently. "She's the one who gave you life," Robert said. "But real family are the people who stay when everything falls apart, the ones who love you unconditionally." "Then Grandma is real family," Matthew said firmly. That night, before bed, each child said something I'll never forget. Diego: "Grandma, thank you for not giving up, even when I was awful." Sophia: "Grandma, I want to be strong like you." Matthew: "Grandma, can I call you Mom Teresa? I already have a mom, but I need a real one." I couldn't hold back tears. "You can call me whatever you like, as long as you know how much I love you." That night, Robert and I stayed up late in the kitchen, reviewing the plan for the next day. At 10 a.m., you take the kids to Carmen's. At 11, the lawyer arrives. At 11:30, the police will be at the corner. Valeria said she'd come around noon. We'll be ready. Before going to bed, I looked through the photos from the past 13 days. The transformation was astonishing, from broken, angry children to ones who could smile, love, and feel what family truly meant. Tomorrow, Valeria would walk in, expecting a weak mother-in-law and children still under her control. Instead, she'd face the consequences of her own actions. She'd see that real love is stronger than manipulation. She'd see that the family she once despised had become a fortress, protecting the children she used to exploit. And I, the retired school teacher, was ready to give her the final lesson, the most important one of her life. Noon. Robert and I sat in the living room with Mr. Smith. The papers were neatly stacked on the table like soldiers awaiting orders. I received a text from Carmen. "The kids are fine, playing in the yard. They don't know a thing." Then the sound of an engine echoed outside. My heart pounded so loud I was sure Robert could hear it. "Calm down, Mom," he said, holding my hand. "She has no power over us anymore." The door swung open without a knock so typical of Valeria. She walked in, tanned skin, designer dress worth twice my monthly pension, pulling a shiny Louis Vuitton suitcase. "It's so hot," she complained, not even glancing at us. "Robert, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at work? Where are the kids? I hope your mother hasn't spoiled them." She froze when she saw the lawyer. "And who's this?" "Valeria," Robert said, standing tall, his voice calm and firm. "We need to talk." "About what?" "I'm exhausted. I just traveled. I'm taking the kids home." "The kids aren't here," I said quietly, "and they won't be going with you." Valeria's face stiffened. "Excuse me? What's this about?" Mr. Smith spoke up. "Mrs. Valeria, I represent Mr. Robert in the divorce and emergency custody case he has just filed." "Divorce?" She laughed. "Robert, honey, is this one of your mother's little games? You know how she loves to invent drama." "No, Valeria." Robert took out his phone and pressed play. Her own voice filled the room. "These brats are such a nuisance. I'll get rid of them soon. Robert's too stupid to notice anything." Her face turned white. "That's fake. Recording someone without consent is illegal." "So is opening credit cards in your husband's name without telling him," the lawyer said. 3 cards, totaling $18,000 in debt. "I don't know what you're talking about." Robert placed the statements on the table. "It's all here, Valeria. And there's more," I added. "Evidence of the house in Miami you bought with Carl, using money from Robert's savings account. I didn't steal anything. It was shared money. Shared money used without consent to buy property for a lover is marital fraud," the lawyer said firmly. Valeria turned to me, eyes blazing with hatred. "This is all your fault, you meddling old woman. You've always wanted to tear us apart." "No, Valeria, you destroyed your own marriage. I just documented the truth." "The truth? You're suing me for being unhappy in my marriage?" "No," the lawyer said, opening another file, "for attempting to take minor children out of the country without the father's consent." Valeria staggered, gripping the back of a chair. "Those are my children. I gave birth to them." "Children aren't property," I replied, "and after 13 days with me, they've made their choice." "What did you do to them? Brainwash them? This is parental alienation." Robert gave a bitter laugh. "Parental alienation? Sounds familiar." How ironic, coming from the woman who once told her kids their grandmother was a filthy, poor old hag. "I want to see my children," Valeria screamed. "No." Robert's voice was sharp as steel. "First, we set the rules." Mr. Smith opened his briefcase. "Ma'am, you have 2 choices. 1, you agree to the divorce, give up custody, return the stolen funds, and leave quietly. If you do, we won't press criminal charges. 2, we go to court. And with the evidence we have, you won't just lose custody, you'll face charges of fraud, attempted child abduction, and emotional abuse. That could mean prison." Valeria dropped into the chair, her face pale as paper. For the first time since I'd met her, I finally saw the real person behind the fake mask, a hollow woman who lived off lies. "You can't do this to me. I have rights. Children have rights too," I replied. "The right to be loved, not manipulated, not abandoned." I never abandoned them. Really? How many times have you traveled this year? 18. We have proof. 18 times you left your kids to vacation with Carl. That's a lie. I opened my phone and showed her a series of Facebook photos, her and Carl at the beach, at resorts, on yachts, while her kids were left behind with neighbors or whoever would watch them. The kids know everything, Valeria. They know you let Carl sleep in Robert's bed. They know you called them worthless trash. And they know about your plan to take them to Miami. I want to talk to them. Not unless you sign the papers, Robert said. Valeria snatched up her phone. I'll call Carl. He's a lawyer. He'll protect me. Go ahead, Mr. Smith said calmly. But you should know Carl has just been subpoenaed for his role in this financial fraud. I doubt he'll risk getting in deeper. Valeria tried calling once, twice, 3 times, no answer. He left me, she whispered. That bastard left me. Just like you left your own family, I said. She shot up, her voice sharp as glass. This isn't over. I'll get my kids back. We all turned toward the doorway. Sophia was standing there, tears streaming down her face. She had run away from Carmen's house. Sweetheart. Valeria rushed toward her, but Sophia stepped back. Don't touch me. Honey, what have they told you? That old woman poisoned you against me, didn't she? She didn't say anything, Sophia replied. You said it all in your messages with Carl, in your lies, in the times you walked away. I worked to give you a better life. No, you went on trips with your lover while we lived like orphans with parents still alive. Diego and Matthew appeared behind their sister, and Carmen came running after them, out of breath. I'm so sorry, Teresa. I looked away for a second, and they ran off. It's fine, I said. Maybe they needed to face this. Valeria turned toward Diego. Son, I love you. Your siblings just misunderstood. No, Mom. The one who misunderstood is you. You think we'd go back to you? I'm your mother. A mother doesn't call her child a mistake, Matthew said softly but firmly. I heard you tell Carl that. Valeria went pale. No, I didn't. You're making that up. A mother doesn't steal her child's college fund to spend on a lover, Diego said. A mother doesn't turn her kids into props for her lies, Sophia added. A mother protects her children, all 3 said together, like Grandma did. The room fell silent. I could hear the ticking of the clock, the low hum of the cland, refrigerator, and Valeria's uneven breathing. She turned toward me, voice shaking with rage. You'll pay for this, Teresa. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Oh, I know exactly who you are, a woman who mistakes cruelty for strength. But that game is over. Sign the papers and leave. And if I don't? Robert stood. Then we'll see you in court. And believe me, you won't just lose your kids, you'll lose everything. Valeria looked at her children one last time. For a moment, it seemed like she might cry. But people like her don't cry for others, they cry only for themselves. She snatched up the pen, signed the papers, and slammed them onto the table. I hope you're all happy. You just took away 3 children's mother. No, Matthew said, calm and clear. We just got our family back. She stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The sound of her SUV's engine faded into the distance, carrying away 10 years of poison. The children ran into their father's arms. The 4 of them cried together while I quietly made chamomile tea. Is she gone for good? Sophia asked. I don't know, sweetheart, Robert said. But if she comes back, it'll be on our terms. And if she doesn't come back? Matthew asked, trembling. I sat down beside them on the floor. Then we keep living. Because love isn't something you beg for, it only exists when it's freely given. Grandma, Are you okay? Diego asked. I smiled. I'm fine, sweetheart. Better than ever. After 10 years, this family is finally free. That night, as we ate leftover cornbread, Robert raised his glass of water. To Mom, the woman who saved us all. To Grandma, the kids shouted together. But I raised my glass for something else, for the truth. Because in the end, truth always wins. Looking around the dinner table at the people I loved and had fought for, I realized every bit of pain had been worth it. This old school teacher had taught her final lesson, the most important one of all. It's never too late to protect what you love. 3 weeks later, our peace was broken. One Thursday afternoon, Valeria came back unannounced, and not alone. I was in the backyard, teaching the kids how to plant tomatoes when I heard shouting at the gate. I'm here to see my children. I have a court order. Robert was at work. It was just me at home. But I wasn't the weak woman I used to be. Kids, inside, now. But Grandma, go. They obeyed, their small faces trembling as they watched through the window. At the gate stood Valeria, Carl, and a woman holding a briefcase. Mrs. Miller, the woman said, I'm Patricia, a social worker. We received a report accusing you of child neglect and abuse. I smiled. Wonderful. Come in, take a look around. Valeria smirked. I also reported that my husband's an alcoholic and violent, and that you cover for him, Carl cut in. We have witnesses to confirm it. I laughed. Witnesses? How much did you pay them? Patricia hesitated. Ma'am, I need to speak to the children privately. Of course, I said. But first, you should see this. I opened my phone and played a video from the day the kids destroyed the living room. In the footage, I stood calm, never retaliating. This is what Valeria calls abuse patience and refusing to respond to violence with violence. Patricia watched closely. The children really did this? You can ask them yourself, and ask why. This proves nothing, Valeria screamed. That old woman threatened them. Just then, Robert walked in with Mr. Smith, the lawyer, and, to everyone's surprise, Laura from Child Protective Services. Patricia? Laura said. What are you doing here? I received a complaint. We know, Laura replied. This family has been under my supervision for 3 weeks. I have full bly documentation. She opened a thick file. Psychological evaluations, therapy reports, evidence of emotional neglect by the mother, and the attempted child abduction case. All lies. Valeria screamed. And this, Robert said, pulling out his phone. He played a recording Valeria's own voice from that morning, talking to Carl. I don't care if it's true or not, she said. As long as social services believe me, once I get the kids back, I'll make Robert do whatever I want. Carl's face went pale. You said you didn't know I was recording. You idiot, Valeria shouted, slapping him hard. Patricia looked stunned. Mrs. Valeria, this is serious evidence. Filing false reports is a criminal offense. I want to see my kids, she screamed. Fine, I said. They can come out now. The 3 children stepped forward, holding hands, stopping a few feet from their mother. Go on, Valeria ordered. Tell her your grandmother hurt. You, Matthew said. She teaches us to cook, Sophia added. She listens to us, Diego said firmly. She loves us. You only use us. You've been brainwashed. This is parental alienation. Laura stepped forward. Mrs. Valeria, in 20 years of doing this job, I've never seen a clearer case of projection. You accuse others of exactly what you've done. And I have something else, I said, bringing out a box. "These are all the cards, drawings, and letters the kids made for me over the years, the ones you threw away. I kept them. Look at the dates." Patricia opened it and saw the childish handwriting. "Dear Grandma, I miss you, but Mom says you're busy." "And this," Robert said, placing an envelope on the table, "is the private investigator's report. Valeria wasn't just cheating with Carl, she also has 3 active dating profiles." "What?" Carl shouted. "You said I was the only one." "Shut up!" Valeria hissed. Patricia closed the folder. "I've seen enough. There is not a single piece of evidence proving Mrs. Miller or Mr. Robert abused these children. On the contrary, there is overwhelming evidence that you, Valeria, manipulated and filed false accusations. Furthermore," Laura added, "I'll recommend that any future visitation be supervised and the children continue therapy." "You can't do this to me," Valeria screamed. "We can," Mr. Smith said. "And one more thing, Mrs. Valeria, you're also facing financial fraud charges. The banks have been notified about the credit cards you opened illegally." Valeria glared at me, eyes burning with hatred. "This is all your fault." "No, Valeria," I said calmly. "I just brought your darkness into the light." Then Carl spoke up. "I'm leaving. You've lost, Valeria. I'm not going down with you." "You can't leave me. You promised you'd stay. You said the house in Miami was mine." "That was all a lie," Carl said, turning to go, leaving her alone in the garden. For the first time, I saw her for what she truly was, a woman stripped bare, who had bet everything on deceit and lost it all. "You have 5 minutes to leave," Robert said coldly, "or I'll call the police." Valeria stepped closer to the kids. "One day you'll understand your mother and regret this." "No," Diego said, his voice steadier than his age. "Maybe one day you'll understand what you did to us. And I hope when that day comes, you'll feel sorry." Valeria turned away. This time she didn't slam the door. She left quietly empty, defeated, utterly alone. That night, as we sat down to dinner, Sophia asked, "Dad, do you think Mom will ever change?" "I don't know, sweetheart," Robert said. "But it's not our problem anymore." "What about you, Grandma?" Matthew asked. "Do you hate her?" I thought for a moment before answering. "No, sweetheart. I just pity her. Imagine living your whole life without ever knowing real love, without ever touching true happiness. That's the prison your mother built for herself." 6 months later, on a Saturday morning, my house was filled with laughter, not just from my grandchildren, but from 6 neighborhood kids, too. The living room, once wrecked in a storm of anger, had become a little art classroom. "Grandma Teresa, look at my drawing," a 5-year-old girl said, holding up a picture of a smiling sun above a house. After the whole scandal with Valeria, everyone in the neighborhood knew our story, but instead of gossip, they offered support. When I mentioned I missed teaching, the local mothers began asking if I could open a small class. Now I had Teresa's Art House, a place where I taught painting, crafts, and cooking to little children. I charged only $20 per session, but the real reward was seeing those bright, happy faces. Robert came in with coffee and cookies. He looked like a different man now, relaxed, confident, and alive. "How's the class, Mom?" "Wonderful, son. Everything's going well." The divorce had been finalized 3 months earlier. Valeria hadn't fought back, especially after being sued by the banks and forced to declare bankruptcy. The last thing we heard about her came from Sophia. She was working as a caregiver for the elderly in Florida. "It's kind of ironic," Diego once said with a chuckle. "Now Mom has to take care of others to earn $10 an hour." Don't mock her, I reminded him. Honest work is always honorable. Maybe it'll help her find herself again. My grandchildren had blossomed after the storm. Diego made the honor roll. Sophia joined the volleyball team. Matthew discovered his love for music and often played my old piano. "Grandma," Matthew asked during break time, "do you ever miss Mom, the way she used to be?" "When, sweetheart?" "Before she became—" I sat beside him in the garden, the same place where everything once fell apart. "Your mom didn't become mean, Matthew. That seed was always inside her. She just chose to water the wrong ones: greed, deceit, and selfishness. And what about us, Grandma? What seeds do we have? You have love, honesty, and courage. And every day you live in this house, those seeds grow stronger." That afternoon, after all the little students went home, my family stayed for dinner. It had become our weekend tradition. Robert cooked, the kids set the table, and I just sat back, feeling at peace. "I have some news," Robert said as dessert began. "I got promoted to production manager. With the raise, I'll be able to pay off the debts Valeria left in just 1 year." "That's amazing, Dad," Sophia exclaimed. "And there's more," Robert continued. "I think we should expand your classroom, Mom. I'll build an extra room out in the garden." "That's not necessary, son." "It is, Mom. You saved me and my kids. This is the least I can do." Diego stood up. "I have something to say, too." He pulled out a piece of paper. "I wrote an essay for school, and it's about Grandma." He cleared his throat and read, "My hero doesn't wear a cape or know how to fly. My hero is 67 years old. Her hands are wrinkled from a lifetime of work, and she has the biggest heart in the world. My hero is my grandmother, the one who taught me that real love can't be bought with gifts or fancy trips. It's built through patience, boundaries, and presence. She saved me from becoming someone who doesn't care. She taught me that family isn't just blood, it's the people we choose to love, and today, I choose her forever." I couldn't hold back my tears. Neither could Robert. Even Sophia, strong as she was, began to cry. "I wrote something too," Sophia said, "but it's a poem." She read, "Once there was a little girl lost in a world of lies. Then a woman came, bringing real love, showing her the light. Now that girl isn't lost anymore, for she found love in her grandma's heart." Matthew wasn't about to be left out. I didn't write anything, but I drew. He held up a picture of our whole family standing in front of the house, hand in hand, with the words scribbled above, "My real family." That night, after everyone was asleep, I went out to the garden. The moonlight shone over the tomato plants, now heavy with fruit. I thought of my late husband, Michael. "I did it, my love. I raised our son, and now I'm raising our grandchildren too. Not the way we dreamed, but I did it." I thought of Valeria, probably somewhere alone now, caring for strangers just to get by. "I hope you find peace," I whispered. "I hope one day you understand that love can't be controlled, it can only be nurtured." I smiled, feeling light inside. The old teacher Valeria once mocked for. Doing nothing had never been so busy, so needed, or so happy. On Monday morning, while preparing for the next class, my phone rang. "Mrs. Miller?" a woman's voice said. "I'm the principal of Lincoln Elementary. We've heard about your art program. Would you like to bring your classes to our school? Of course, we'll pay you." Life was giving me back everything I had sown, along with a well-deserved reward. But the greatest gift came a month later on Mother's Day. I wasn't expecting anything. Yet that morning, my grandchildren brought breakfast to my bed. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom Teresa," they shouted. "But I'm your grandmother," I laughed. "You're more than that," Robert said from the doorway. "You're the mother we all needed." He handed me an envelope. "What's this?" "Legal documents. The kids want you to become their legal guardian in case anything ever happens to me. They want to make sure they'll stay with you, not Valeria." "It was our idea," Diego said proudly. I cried the happiest tears since Michael's passing. As we all sat on the bed, nearly collapsing it under our weight, Matthew asked, "Grandma, are you happy?" I looked around, my son alive again, my grandchildren healing, the house full of laughter and purpose. "I'm not just happy, sweetheart," I said softly. "I feel complete." And that was the truth. Because in the end, Valeria wasn't the one who lost. We were the ones who won. We reclaimed freedom, peace, and real love. This old teacher had finished her final lesson, but the learning would never end. Because family is the classroom where we never stop learning how to love. If you've ever had to stand between love and pain, between holding on or letting go, which would you choose? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. And if you believe that every day we can learn something new about how to love and how to be loved, stay with me so you won't miss the journeys ahead. Because who knows, maybe the next story will touch a small corner of your heart.